It's time for ACC Central, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Monty Taylor, Micah Butel, and Nick Dioli.
Nick is still missing, but I am joined once again by Micah Butel, the man, the myth, the legend, the baseball guy. Micah, how you doing, buddy?
Monty, I'm excited to finally talk about a team with you that we know things about. We actually know 90% of what this team is.
Do we? We'll see. It's an exciting team. I got to see them a little bit in fall ball. They were doing an inter-squad amongst themselves on Scout Day. That was a lot of fun. There were a couple of guys that stood out to me in that session that we'll talk about. But first, let's talk a little bit about who has left. And the big name for me is Blake Wright. But there's a couple of really important pieces up there. And Micah, who's the big loss for you?
I think the biggest loss for me, I think that was the toughest to swallow, was probably Billy Barlow, just because you kind of thought that, throughout the year last year, like, all right, next year that's going to be special for him. Obviously, that whole thing too. There was, you got to love the good old social media warriors of the Clemson fan base, but that was also the messiest transfer of them all. Maybe Nolan, the Rockies, was up there too, obviously going to South Carolina. But I'm sad to see Matthew Marshall gone, my beloved Wofford transfer. But
there still is one Wofford transfer.
There is. But Matthew was a lot more engaging with us, so Matthew, I hope you still choose to engage with us, even though you're no longer a part of the roster. But they lost a lot, but we'll get to what they got.
I can bring that up right now.
They got better.
Yeah,
they got better.
Luke Gaffney was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. He is a legit stud. Colin Priest is one of those guys that I saw in during that scrimmage that really stood out to me. He hit everything 100 miles an hour plus exit velocity, whether it was in batting practice or in the game. And then you bring in somebody like Dom Listy from Indiana State. He's a stud. Josh Pano is a defensive wizard. And then, the recruiting class, there's a lot to love there as well. So, yeah, Clemson is still good. Still good.
They're better.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Luke Gaffney, obviously ETSU, we had a weekend series with Purdue.
Yep.
And shout out to my wonderful buddy there that I won't name drop him, but he works on the Purdue staff just in case he wants to remain anonymous. And we talked about Luke. Obviously, this was before his name was in the portal, all that stuff. And he even said, he was like, dude, it's going to be so hard to keep him. They were almost he joked, right, that they were upset how good of a year he was having because they knew what he was capable of. And they knew that last year for Purdue was probably not the year. They were hoping that 2025 was going to be a breakthrough year for them. And he was going to be a big part of that. So when he committed to Clemson, that was huge. But Josh Pano, one of the most sought after recruits coming from a mid-major school, and Clemson pulls him. Michael Gillen, fantastic arm from Seton Hall. Really, really liked what I saw from him. They also played ETSU. So, that was cool. Luke Kissenberth, I saw him at the Citadel. These are guys that were the guys at their team, and now they're going to be just a part of a loaded locker room at Clemson. We'll get to more of what to expect from this team as an entirety, but what Eric Bakich is doing with this program, if I had to put Monty, you told me, gun to my head, what ACC team would you feel most comfortable saying goes to Omaha in 2025? I'm saying Clemson. I am that in on this team. I think that they are that special with what they're returning, with what they've brought in. Yes, they lost some key players, but a lot of teams did in college baseball. It's not just Clemson that lost a lot of key players. But what they've brought in, the recruiting class was top 5 in college baseball, if I'm not mistaken, top 10, depending on where I saw. It was one of the better recruiting classes in college baseball. Like,
yeah, it was very, very good. I'm trying to remember. I think I have those rankings.
I mean, they are a program again. Don Listy, is it Listy or Listy?
Clemson was 14th according to some publication. I can't remember which publication I went with.
Top 10. But I mean, this is a program that, and again, like the one thing that we saw with them in 2024 that clearly is translating over in 2025. What a background, by the way, Monty.
Thank you.
Is that they are one of the more fun programs. It kind of feels like how Clemson was in 2024, or excuse me, with Dabo Swinney in football, like when they were winning those national titles. Like they were the fun program. They were the ones with the slides in the facilities. They were the ones with the goofy taglines and all that stuff. Like, again, say what you want about the Savannah Bananas. I'm a known Savannah Banana hater.
I was not aware you were on team.
For a very long time, Monty, I couldn't stand the Savannah Bananas because their pitch was they were changing baseball and not like it just admitted they were the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. Now they understand. Like now they're more about, hey, we're just the fun out like thing to baseball. But for a while they're like, I went to Savannah Banana games and they were CPL, like actually playing other teams, and like they were like, oh, we're gonna change how baseball's played, and it's like, please don't let baseball be TikTok dances. Like, for the love of God, please don't make that the everyday baseball. I'm fine with it for some fun for family and friends. Like, I'm for it. But like,
I've sent Micah on a little
correct. Anyway,
tangent.
But the fact that they played with the Savannah Bananas, like again, that is what they did from a brand standpoint. Genius. Like, I don't think there's a single brand in college baseball this offseason that did a better job than Clemson.
I mean, how about Jay Dillard on the horse? Eric Bakich taking his shirt off. Oh, man,
and again, like they were doing fun content all throughout the year. They just did a great job of like keeping themselves relevant when again, 2024 ended in a very disappointing way.
Yeah. Yep. And
I think that plays into 2025 too. That's a big reason why I think they're gonna. I feel confident they're going to Omaha is because they are the team that, like, again, I got to witness it with in person how much it hurt a guy like Cam Cannarella. Like they literally laid their bodies on the line, and just Florida they were playing better baseball at that point. Like,
yes, and again, I still hold by the fact that Florida did not deserve to be in the tournament, but the reason why you get upset about them getting in is because you knew they were capable of doing what they ultimately ended up doing.
Correct.
So, anyway, rotation options. I believe they are pretty. I think they have a pretty good Friday night ace, if I recall.
I think he's good. He was one of the better aces in the ACC last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're putting a bunch of rotation options up there, but we have a pretty good idea those top three are going to be your weekend rotation. They're really high on Michael Gillen, stretching him out into a starter. Ethan Darden has obviously a ton of starting experience over his first 2 years in the program. And then Aiden Canuck is arguably the second best pitcher in the conference behind Jamie Arnold.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ethan Darden's obviously going to be the guy to watch, right? Because he had some really great moments and some not so great moments in 2024. And I think if he can just kind of be a little bit more consistent, I mean, he is an argument to be one of the top 5-10 arms in the conference this year too.
Yeah. And, somebody who's highlighted on my pitching, underrated pitching, breakout sophomores is Noah Samole, who is a guy who's got all the stuff. It's just a matter of whether the command can come into play. He could be one of the best pitchers nationally if he's able to harness some of that command, because he's got some insane stuff. And then, of course, the two other lefties on this list, McGovern and Legurnick, are two guys who can be really important pieces of the bullpen and really strong players. But I really like this pitching staff, and you're going to see why. Look how deep this pitching staff is. Dane Moeller as a freshman is another guy that could maybe get a chance as a midweek starter. But look at the relievers on that list there. I mean, you just got it up and down. And I think there's guys that I actually haven't even listed on that could be in there, like a Casey Talent, maybe even, a Luke Brown, something like that. Some other guys that could be in this conversation. A BJ Bailey is on that list, but Another sophomore that I'm really excited about from Wake Forest is Hudson Lee. And I think I highlighted him when I saw them in the scrimmage. He dropped his arm slot and thank you, Oscar, looks a lot more effective pitching from that low slot. I think he's going to be a really important high leverage arm for this Clemson Tiger team. But obviously your bullpen ace, Lucas Malstedt, I mean, he's got that really low slot delivery, and he's really tough. I mean, Oscar's really excited about this Clemson.
He was napping, and he's like, "What? You didn't wake me up for this?" Now he's gonna be grumpy with me. But no, I mean, this Monty, you obviously put together the spreadsheet. You obviously have had way more conversations with coaches and people around the conference than I have. Is this the best pitching staff in the conference? Top to bottom?
It's in the conversation. The top teams have that. I mean, NC State from top to bottom might Stanford top to bottom. Duke.
We're so loaded in this. We're so spoiled in this conference, Monty.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you start naming off schools, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There's three guys there that I can think of that can have to be.
Wake Forest has like 5 guys who have Friday night experience. North Carolina brings back a ton of talent, even though you rank them super low. I know North Carolina, but
I've never heard of that school.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can say for sure, but it's definitely up there, and that's why they're so good, and why they're ranked in the top 10.
Now let's talk their lineup. The real fun.
Yeah, you ready for the? Oh yeah, you didn't have much else to say on their rotation, huh? You just
Drew Titsworth. I want to talk the cool stuff. I mean, this staff is loaded. I mean, you went down the entire list and just kept throwing names out there. What did you want me to say, Mon? You want me to be like Lucas Malstedt's also really good because he's the top of your list?
I didn't mention.
You didn't. Do you want me to say Drew Titsworth is a stud? Like,
yeah, I didn't mention.
New player here.
I didn't mention Titsworth. He's going to probably be the closer.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, when you hammered home what I wanted to say about this pitching staff by going through guys that aren't even on this list. Like, oh yeah, he could be pretty good. This guy could be a midweek guy. This guy could be this. It's like, Monty, take the floor, my friend. Go to work.
Speaking of Lucas Malstedt, there he is, former Wofford guy.
I was really confused. I'm like, why is he not on the graphic, like name-wise? But it was just in the purple, and so it blended in again. So
yeah, and it was also he's not as the starter. All the other graphics,
yeah, but again, I just didn't see him in the relief. Then I was like, oh wait, relief ace, you know.
But look at that bullpen and look at the rotation, the balance between righties and lefties.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, they're going to be a fun staff to watch. And again, I had to add names to the bottom of the list. Again, you can keep going on. Yeah, they've got a very good, strong team. And again, I think you pointing out Ethan Darden as the key is spot on. I think Ethan Darden, if we can get a consistent Ethan Darden, I mean that could put Clemson into the conversation to be a potential number 1 team. If you get Ethan Darden to the level that he can be. So now we can talk about your favorite part here, the lineup. Here is the catchers. I thought Luke Gaffney was going to be playing first base, but he's probably going to be your DH, but he did catch a bunch during the fall. But Jacob Jarrell has the 2 years of experience. You got to stick with him behind the dish. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Luke Gaffney or even a little bit of Ty Marshall.
It's funny when – oh, sorry. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because you only have the catchers on the screen.
So you want me to put more up there?
If you want to put more up there, you can go up to the infield if you want because the outfield we'll talk about soon too. It's funny that of the 5 guys or 5 positions currently listed on the screen, is Jared Purify the guy that you pitch to if you like are trying to avoid an absolute stud hitter? And when I say that with a grain of salt, as in, do you really want to pitch to Jared Purify? Like Andrew Sifo, threat. Josh Pano, threat. Colin Priest, threat. Luke Gaffney, threat. Like Jacob Jarrell, threat. Like, I mean, this is a lineup just from top to bottom. I mean, because like you see guys like Colin Priest who hit 11 home runs last year, or Josh Pano hit 11 home runs last year. You know, like again, Jared Purifies or Andrew Sifo, but Sifo didn't really like hit for power, but he still did a really good job of like just getting on base. Like,
what? and he got injured. So
correct. Like, I mean, this lineup is just obviously the outfield is even better. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, and you could see Chufo and Pano flip there. Because from what I understand, Pano might be one of the best defensive shortstops in the country. So you could see them flipped. They're both going to play. Tristan McClatty had a monster fall and might force his way into some playing time. Jay Dillard is a guy they were really high on the fall. We already mentioned him with riding the horse during the Savannah Bananas game. And then the interesting thing about this, you guys see Jack Crichton may not be in the lineup. That's how deep the lineup is he might be your 10th guy because you need to have Gaffney's bat in there at DH, and then Colin Priest might have the higher upside at first base. And then, now that I show you the outfield, there's just nowhere for Jack Crichton to play.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like Steel Bird, for example, you have listed, right? Like he's a guy, not saying that like Listy doesn't win that job because he comes in with a ton of experience from Indiana State, but he was one of the guys when I was like, I have not heard of this kid. Let me look him up. Holy crap. Is he like, his tape is filthy. I mean, you saw on the fall, did he stand out at all to you when you saw him in the scrimmage?
So the freshman really stood out to me. Steel Bird, TP Wentworth, Anthony Wilkie, and Josh Castellini all caught my eye. Like they're big kids.
Yeah.
Anthony Wilkie.
Steel Bird, I was like, this kid's an outfielder. This kid's like gonna probably see not limited time, but probably not a ton of time. Like put him on half of the schools in the ACC, and he's probably a potential starter. And we're talking about this kid probably getting buried in the outfield over there.
Yeah, what's interesting is I think Josh Castellini might have the best chance of any of the freshmen to get a chance, but even then I think it's tough. But like Anthony Wilkie was a guy that I saw hitting, and just like Colin Priest, he was just mashing the baseball. I look him up, he's not even listed as a position player. He is now, but he wasn't in the fall when I was looking at him. He's one of those guys that came in, they're like, let him hit, and then they're like, oh man, maybe we should have him be a two-way guy. So just unbelievable. And then Cam Canarella, healthy, by the way. He played almost all of last season with that the issue with the shoulder, had surgery on it, missed Team USA, which is fine because he did get Team USA the year before. So he's fully healthy. Tristan Becerra is going to have a monster year. I thought he looked really good up on the Cape. Again, like you said, is Jaron Purify the guy that you're pitching to in this lineup? Otherwise,
I'll be very clear, Jaron, if you see this, I'm not saying you're not a good hitter. I'm just simply saying you look at the stats, like who are you pitching to? Like you're probably just stuck pitching to everybody. Like you don't really have many, like, because, oh, cool, like, let me walk Luke Gaffney. Oh, okay, here comes Colin Priest who can hit the ball 500 feet. Oh, let me just skip him. Now it's first and second. Oh, do I really want to mess around with Cam Canarella? Probably not. Now the bases are loaded. Like, I mean, this line.
But the depth here amongst the freshmen you have, then you've got Jack Crichton, Tristan McClatty, and Jay Dillard, who are all not freshmen, who are all very, very good. I mean, you can have Clemson's backups. And you could make the NCAA tournament,
and you could do a really good job too of matchups. I mean, Ty Marshall is a switch hitter, obviously. If he makes his way into the lineup, again from a standpoint for matchups for pinch hitting, you've got righty with Jarrell, lefty with Priest, you got a lefty with Listy, you got a lefty with Canarella, you got a lefty with Becerra, then you got righties with Gaffney and Sifu and. I always say that last name wrong. I don't know why I say that.
I always say it wrong, but now I think it's Chufo.
Yeah, it's Shufo. Yeah, I know what I picture. You ever seen like Master Shifu from what is that from now? No, of course now I'm drawing a blank on what that's from. Kung Fu Panda. But that's what I'm botching. So anyways, sorry. But like I mean the lineup is righty lefty, righty lefty, righty lefty. And then you got switch guys on like again, back in the back end of the lineup. And you've got again just the incredible depth with this lineup for matchups for all that. I mean, Monty, I can't wait to see your projected lineup, honestly, because I don't even know how I would piece this together.
And that's what's funny is, again, like, I know that I have coaches and players following me, so, like, when they see this, they're going to – some of them might be like, oh, man,
I want Eric –
other ones –
you see this,
others
please
might be
quote
like,
tweet it and be like, what?
What are you thinking?
Or just eyeball emoji, make you think maybe you nailed it, but maybe you're so far off.
Yeah.
You did.
Here's what we got for our projected lineup. And again, it does not include Jack Crichton, who I think is going to have a lot of playing time because he can play all three outfield positions and first base. He can DH, obviously, or put somebody else in the DH spot. But here's my crack at the projected batting order here. Again, do you take Cam Cannarella out of the leadoff spot? I don't know, but like you've got like 4 leadoff guys, that you could potentially put there. But I mean, look at this. You're batting Colin Priest 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you've got like perfect left, right.
I do
right,
love
left,
how the guy
right,
singled
left, right.
as the number 9 hitter, though. I'm glad like we kind of saw eye to eye on that at least.
I mean, he's going to do damage.
And that's the thing is, he's probably the best 9-hole hitter in the conference. If that's the case, like he'll turn the lineup over more times than not.
Yeah, I mean that's an unbelievable, and we got a nice graphic there with Cam on it, just kind of chilling. But yeah, we got Tristan Bissetta on the other graphic. This Clemson team is good, and again, I kind of put this lineup together trying to get the lefty righty mix a little bit, but I like it. I would love to go out with this lineup. Yeah,
I mean, this is again arguably the best team in the ACC, and in my opinion, probably my number 1.
All right, here's their schedule.
So pretty. I can't wait to see them in person. You get to open college baseball with Clemson baseball and Louisville baseball. Minus Georgia Tech. If Georgia Tech and somehow make their way to that tournament, I could not think of a better way to start a year.
Yeah, Louisville and Clemson will be in that opening weekend. You've got Clemson, Oklahoma State. I mean, those first 2 matchups for Clemson are top 25 teams, probably top 20 teams, and then Ole Miss is Ole Miss. So, it's a bottom of the SEC, but they're still very, very good, very talented.
What's the TBA 21 through 23?
I wonder if they fixed
that. That's been filled, I thought.
That has been filled. Let me double check what that is while you talk about some of the matchups here.
Well, I mean, obviously, right, that South Carolina series is always going to be a fun one. Hopefully we actually get all 3 this year and not the 2 of 3. But, again, I like that they have Georgia in the midweek. I like, obviously, Coastal's always a good midweek. Like, I think they do a good job, too, of kind of doing themselves some favors by not necessarily going too crazy in these midweeks. Like, they could easily play like a Campbell or ECU and stuff like that, but they do keep it a lot more close to home with the USC upstates, and Liberty is a really fun midweek choice that I really do like. But, again, no disrespect to Gardner-Webb, the sleeper of the Big South, but Clemson could have easily gone and scheduled High Point there, right? And kind of a revenge factor situation going back to not necessarily, I don't think High Point beat Clemson in the regional, but obviously High Point was a sneaky good team in that Clemson regional last year. But opening this season the way they do, again, Oklahoma State's my preseason Big 12 champion. My runner-up would be Arizona. So you've got 2 of the top 3-4 teams minimum in the Big 12. And like you said, an Ole Miss team that similar to the ACC, right? We like to crap on the SEC, and obviously that's our rival conference. But we also believe the depth of the SEC is similar to the ACC. There's really no easy out any given weekend. So it's going to be really, really fun. I can't wait to see them in person for that. But again, there's the back half of the schedule too. To me, I think is like that. Pretty much from Stanford on, we'll throw Gardner-Webb in there. Shout out to our guys over there in beautiful Boiling Springs. I can't believe, Monty, you didn't convince Clemson to go to them, though. I know that was your homework assignment. You failed to do so. But Stanford, Louisville, Georgia, NC State, Florida State, Coastal, Duke, and then again at Pitt. And knowing what we know with the ACC baseball tournament, there's a chance, right, that weekend for Pitt at home determines whether they get to go to Charlotte or not and keep their season going. So you're going to get scrappy Pitt. That is a fun last half. And again, they also go to Cal, and that's going to be a big spot for Cal. If you want to throw basically from April on, right? Cal is going to be one of those teams that, again, we talked about it. They're going to have to. I think Cal is going to win one ACC weekend series we do not expect. Clemson at home is a very circle that one is like a, you don't expect it, but that's almost why you expect it because it's the unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, the 21 to the 23rd is VCU and North Carolina A&T in the Clemson Baseball Invitational. They're hosting those two schools. They're going to play each of those schools twice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
it's
I knew
weekend.
Yeah, it's a 4-game weekend. I think it's a doubleheader Saturday for Clemson.
And VCU again, great opponent to schedule. So, and A&T's been a pretty good little program down there too. So, yeah, I got my tiger tail.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm really excited about this schedule. Obviously, they've got some tough ones. I mean, Liberty's not an easy midweek. Coastal Carolina's not an easy midweek. Gardner-Webb, I think, is going to be the best team in the Big South. Is that the Big South? SoCon.
Big South. Big South.
I think they're going to be the
Monty, respectfully, when I was at ETSU, I would not have been allowed to hype up Gardner-Webb if I were in the same conference as us.
Okay. And then Georgia, obviously, you've got that one. Coastal Carolina again. I mean, it's just no break for Clemson during the midweeks. USC upstate at a neutral site on the 4th of March.
Yeah, neutral. Greenville Drive Ballpark, where you also play South Carolina like 3 days before that. 20 minutes from your campus, 5 minutes from theirs. I mean, yeah, I guess neutral.
Yeah.
If there's more than 20% of the crowd in attendance being USC Upstate fans, Clemson fans, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing, baby?
All right, Micah. Who is your what are your expectations for Clemson? Obviously, let's say everything goes right for Clemson. What's the ceiling?
National champion.
National. There you go.
If we're saying ceiling, national champion.
Ceiling. All right.
National champion.
What is a more realistic? Well, no, that's Omaha. Pretty realistic. Omaha. Okay.
Like my expectation is Omaha. Bad year is what happened this past year. Like a disappointing season is losing Clippers.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. Like they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Like there is no way they don't make the NCAA tournament. Really.
Yeah,
right?
like sky is falling if they don't make the NCAA tournament. Like
right.
Honestly, like they would have had to have pure disaster strike, like injuries off the rear. Just because I mean the schedule is tough. Like that is the one thing. But again, like let's say they do struggle. Like let's say they have like almost a Florida situation. Get really banged up for a little while there, go into this slump. The schedule's going to do enough RPI wise where they probably still get in as long as they don't go under 500 in ACC play. And I don't think even in a rough patch that's going to necessarily happen for them. Like I don't see them even with things going if things go kind of worse than expected where they're losing ACC weekends consistently.
Yeah. I love their non-conference schedule. They're challenging themselves, especially going out in that showdown. And obviously they always have South Carolina, but I'm really excited about this Clemson team. Like you said, if everything goes right, their ceiling is a national championship. And I don't think Omaha is an unreasonable expectation for this team. Obviously it wasn't an unreasonable expectation last year either. They were the ACC regular season champions. So we'll see what goes next this year. And hopefully, like you said, they got better this year with the guys they brought in. So really exciting stuff, but that's going to wrap it up for us on Clemson, unless Micah has any more thoughts on the Tigers.
Oscar says, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. All right. So we'll be back either with an episode. We might have a break before our next preview. It might be an interview with Darren Vaught, but if not, our next preview show is the Duke Blue Devils, and we will see you then, or we will see you at another time.